Recording in progress.
Hello, everybody. I'm Seth Gordon, the Communications Officer for the Oregon Employment Department, filling in today for Rebecca Gibson-King. Today's speakers are Bob Uhlencott, OED Research Division Director, who will share the State Jobs and Unemployment Report for February, Unemployment Insurance Director Lindsay Leahy, and OED Director David Gerstenfeld. Paid Leave Oregon Director Karen Madden-Hummelbaugh is also available for questions. A few quick notes before we get started. This call is being recorded, and we will post the recording online and send out the link after the briefing. If you have technical difficulties or otherwise unable to ask your question, please send us an email at communications@employ.oregon.gov and we'll assist you. If you're joining by phone, please make sure to hit *6 to unmute yourself. As a courtesy, please limit yourself to one question and one follow-up question. And if you don't get your question answered today, please email us at communications@employ.oregon.gov. And now I'll hand it over to Bob Uhlencott.
Thanks, Seth, and thanks everyone for joining us this afternoon. As Seth mentioned, I'm Bob Uhlencott, the Research Director at the Oregon Employment Department. Yesterday morning, the Employment Department released the jobs figures and unemployment rate for Oregon in February. Overall, Oregon employers dropped 100 jobs from non-farm payrolls last month. The construction sector lost 2,200 jobs over the month. Professional and business services added 1,700 jobs over the month. The large majority of those gains occurred in professional and technical services, which includes things like architectural engineering and computer systems design, among other things. All other broad sectors in Oregon's economy saw relatively little overall employment change in February. Pivoting to look at the data over the past year, Oregon's employers in total added 18,500 jobs to non-farm payrolls for the year, an increase of 0.9%. Private healthcare and social assistance added 14,000 jobs. That's a 4.8% increase over the year. Other services expanded by 2,200 jobs, a 3.3% increase. Government added 8,700 jobs over the year, a 2.8% increase. Around 7 out of every 10 of the jobs added in the public sector were in local government. Manufacturing lost 6,000 jobs over the past year, which was a decline of 3.2%. The construction sector lost 1,800 jobs, declining 1.5%. Retail trade also dropped by 1,800 jobs over the year. Oregon's unemployment rate was 4.5% in February. That was slightly above the U.S. rate of 4.1%. Over the past year, Oregon's 4.5% unemployment was slightly above the 4.1% rate from a year ago in February. Even though Oregon's unemployment rate has been trending upwards, it's still relatively low by historical standards. Over the past 5 decades, it's been uncommon for Oregon's unemployment rate to be at or below 4.5%. The state's labor force participation rate, remember that's the share of our population that's 16 or older. You're either employed or unemployed, but you have to be actively seeking work in the past 4 weeks, and you need to be available and able to take a job if it's offered to you. That labor force participation rate has been stable at 62.7% for the past 4 months. In fact, it's been pretty stable over the past year and isn't currently at the highest rate we've seen since late in 2012. With that, I'll turn it over to Unemployment Insurance Director Lindsay Leahy.
Thanks, Bob, and good afternoon, everybody. The Oregon Employment Department has identified errors with some 1099-G tax forms issued in January regarding unemployment insurance benefits paid in 2024. 1099-G tax forms show how much a government agency has paid to a person and are used when that person files federal and state income taxes. We apologize for the errors, and we know this will be inconvenient for customers who are impacted. We are committed to providing people with accurate information as quickly as possible, and we will follow up with customers who are issued an updated 1099-G with more specific information about their individual situation. The Employment Department found that roughly 12,000 of the 250,000 1099-G forms that were issued needed to be updated, and those corrected forms have been issued this week. OED employees are working diligently to validate the corrected forms, and we will post updates on this situation and answers to frequently asked questions on our unemployment insurance 1099-G information page. During the 2024 calendar year, benefit payments were paid out through both our legacy system and Francis Online, which was launched on March 4th of 2024. This is the first time that 1099-G tax forms were created for the unemployment insurance program using Francis Online. This is also the only time that the new system will have to issue 1099-G forms covering payments made from both the new and legacy systems. This week, we implemented an update to Francis Online to address the errors and generate corrected 1099-G forms, which were made available in Francis Online to customers on Monday. Paper copies were also mailed this week, and customers might start seeing them arrive as early as today. As we complete our validation process, we will follow up with each affected person about next steps, if any, that they might need to take. Again, we apologize for the error, and we are working to minimize the impact on our customers. And with that, I'll turn it over to Employment Department Director, David Gerstenfeld.
Thank you, Lindsay, and good afternoon, everyone. The Oregon Employment Department is preparing for our Phase 2 budget presentation to the legislature next week. We'll be talking about the impact on our revenue of the most recent statewide economic forecast. Unfortunately, inadequate federal funding levels mean that without additional revenue, we would have to make some cuts to our staff, which would mean some decreases in customer service levels. Importantly, we'll also be talking about our efforts to get some additional revenue so we don't have to make those cuts and we can continue the progress we've been making on improving customer service for Oregonians. Another thing that we continue to watch closely is the unemployment insurance claims activity around federal workers. We're helping those impacted workers not only with unemployment insurance benefits, but also helping them find new jobs and career opportunities. Oregon has a comparatively small part of its workforce that is employed by the federal government compared to many states. So while this is devastating for the impacted workers, the increased federal claims level is not impacting our ability to help them or to help the tens of thousands of other people we assist each week with their unemployment insurance claims and job search and related services through our WorkSource Oregon offices. And with that, I'm going to turn it back over to Seth.
Thank you, David, Lindsay, and Bob. I'll now allow members of the media to ask questions. Go ahead and raise your hands, and I'll call on you as I see your requests, or raise your hand on the app. First up, we have Courtney Sherwood. Go ahead, Courtney.
Yeah, I'm Courtney Sherwood with OPB. I'm wondering if you could talk about, you mentioned, Mr. Gerstenfeld, the federal workers who are filing for unemployment benefits. If you have any information about the numbers, just, how many people have filed, how many are continuing to file, because we've seen a lot about people losing their jobs and getting rehired, and looking for any insight we can get.
Sure. Probably the best thing that I can do is point you to qualityinfo.org, which is a site that our research division maintains that has a lot of publicly accessible information. And they added some tools to show the number of claims that are filed by federal workers. There is a little bit of lag in that data because it's kind of looking back at claims activity and it takes some time. But that is something that we're updating regularly and probably is the best place to point you to. Overall, we are seeing an increase in claims from federal workers compared to what we would normally expect to see. But again, as I mentioned, it's a pretty small percentage of Oregon's workforce. They do tend to be disproportionately focused in Oregon in some of our more rural communities. And in those communities, they also tend to be disproportionately higher paying jobs. So we know that it certainly is impacting those individuals and their families and having an impact on those communities, which is why we're really focused on trying to help them and assist them if they're not going back to work for the federal government.
Not seeing any other hands up at this time, but I'll give folks a few more seconds. Okay, not seeing anything as of yet. As a reminder, we will send the link out to this recording to all reporters who have RSVP'd, and also post it at our media page at oregon.gov/employ under the news and agency info section. Thanks everybody to participating. I'll take one last look to see if anybody else has any questions. Doesn't look like it, so I guess we'll go ahead and wrap things up. Thank you, everybody.
Thanks, everybody.
Thanks, everyone.